So after 6 long hard weeks, finally got the front roof finished off. So this is the Tuesday morning. I returned to the share, and there was only really a couple of square meters of tiles to be put in, but it was a question of taking them from the barn at the rear to finish off. And also wanted to get it done as quickly as possible because this week's going to be very, very hot apparently in France. A bit of a mini heat wave coming through. So by the time I'd got there, which was about just before 10 o'clock in the morning, I'd gone into the local builders merchants and picked up some membrane for the flooring, which I'll be talking about in another video, for the internals. And while I was there, I did my usual little bit of shopping and stuff, so I got all my stuff ready, my sandwich and that prepared for the day. I wanted to get here and try and get this roof finished off. There were going to be one or two cuts because obviously you're finishing off on a clean edge. And because I've started from one end and the far end, the right hand side has got to be as it is, there are always going to be one or two cuts needed to be put in. So been a little bit of playing around up and down the ladder as usual. But it's nice to see a good 112 square metres of roofing done over the course of the 6 weeks, and also the replacement of the various rafters, putting in a smaller purlin, adding fresh breathable membrane to the entire roof, putting in 5 roof windows, fresh batten all the way through, and the batten had to be ripped down because it wasn't the size that I needed. So I did all that myself as well. So very, very pleased that side of it now is taken care of, because now it's absolutely totally weather tight now. Not that it's looking like we're going to get any rain anytime shortly, but if we're doing any sort of anything that arrives and a miss, then the roof is ready for it. So I'll take care of the guttering. I need to get organised on delivery of various bits and pieces, and I'll try and get as much delivered as possible because the average charge for delivery is about €100 now. So I really want to get as many things into that delivery as possible, which brings the cost of everything, brings the cost of delivery down. You sort of every bit that comes on it gets eaten into the delivery cost. There's no way of getting around it, unfortunately, because I've only got a little car now. I don't have a truck. I don't have a 4x4. So I'm reliant on the delivery of the merchants, and even the merchants, which is quite close to merchants that I've sort of joined recently. It's about 30 kilometres away. They were quoting €100 as well. So what I'll do is I'll work on my prices out from somebody like Leroy Merlin and go into this other place, this independent, and say, "Bump, this is what I've got. If you can match it or better it, then you can have the deal and get organised in that way." Because if possible, I always prefer to use independents rather than the massive chains. I just think that you tend to get a better service from them anyway, and it's good to have that. It's good to have these local companies going rather than the real big boys. So let's see what we get done on that. But like I said, so the guttering will take care. I'll take care of that, the front and rear. I'll probably be ordering the windows as well, the doors. The door. A couple of I need 3 internal doors as well. I'll need some rail and stuff to form the bedrooms, and of course some plasterboard for the upstairs bedrooms, and what else? Insulation and some lime and stuff, because the downstairs I'll be reusing the cob and keeping that as sympathetic as possible. And I ordered some sort of grinding bits for my grinder to sort of hopefully, which will work quite well, which will take the discoloration off the oak beams that were in the house, bring them back to life a little bit just before I treat them. So they'll only treating against woodworm, etc. So I'd need to do that, and then apparently if you varnish afterwards, that tends to resolve any problems. So if you've treated against the woodworm and it's all been cleaned up, then you take the worst bits off when you varnish it, apparently. That resolves the issue of woodworms returning. Obviously, they can't work their way through the varnish. So it'd be nice to see it. It'd be nice to see the wood all fresh again. Obviously, it's been donkey's years since it's looked anything like a new structure. So it'd be quite nice to see that, and I think it's very pleasant style of decoration. That rather than just plain plastered walls painted, it's quite nice to have a bit of character in these old buildings. This house is invariably a good 150 years old, so why not let it show itself off a little bit, the internals. So it was made. Hats off to the artisans that built the house in the first place. Look at this; it's still standing. Done incredibly well, considering it was neglected for the best part of 13 years after the chap died. So it's nice that it's getting its fresh lease of life, and I'm getting a fresh lease of life also, I think. So it's a win-win situation for both of us. Thanks for the comments on the bees. They weren't around today when I arrived at the house, so presumably they've moved on to somewhere either outside in the garden, or there's lots of fields around here. There's loads and loads of hedging. There's massive hedging around here, so there's no shortage of sort of accommodation for them. And there weren't that many anyway, to be honest with you. There only seemed to be a dozen or so sort of bobbing around. So someone suggested there perhaps minor bees. Another guy suggested the one that was sort of scratching itself may have been a bumblebee, just to tidy itself up a little bit. So thanks to anybody that commented on that. And obviously, we don't want to be harming bees. We want to be trying and protect them and help them do what they do best, which is pollinate. It keeps the food on the table for us. So the fun and games of fetching the tiles from the barn all the way up through to the roof, to the trestles. I must have done this on Saturday. I must have done this a good 20, 30 times. And then this morning, I've had to again do it a good 8 or 9 times. Bring the last tiles through. So, and for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. And that would be that I've fairly stripped a section of the barn roof from tiles. There's a little clip of it later through this video. It's one of those things, unfortunately. It will be replaced with tole, which is the metal sheeting on one side, and then there should still be plenty of tiles on the side facing the house, so that can be redone. But the roof itself is in very, very poor condition, so the structure is going to have to be redone. Plus the area that was done in slate rather than tile, that's going to need a whole new structure put in place, because that's totally collapsed before I get cracking on that. But that's a wee way off, because the priority is the house, and now that the roof is done, and it's going to be the internals, and the next step is the staircase. So that'll be quite interesting. So there was some old furniture and stuff in one of the barns. So I'm going to sort of rip that lot apart and create my risers and treads with that, and put it in and see how I get on. I've never built a staircase from scratch before. I've installed a couple in my time, but they were kit forms. This is me just going to be having a go, seeing what I can do, and that'll be quite nice. Not having to use the telescopic ladder to get up into the loft, which I've done for the past best part of 3 months now. It'll be nice to actually have a staircase internally that I can get up and down the stairs, for obviously getting materials and stuff in and out. And also that means I could then get the area where the sort of the loft, the exterior loft door is. I can then get that replaced with a window. Or it's not quite big enough to be a door, but it's bigger than a sort of a standard window, if you like. So it's going to be in between the two, I suppose, in between sort of it can be a shortened French doors. And I've got the idea of putting a bit of a sort of a Juliet balcony on the outside, so that you can have the doors, the windows completely open, and maybe have a cup of coffee, just looking out onto the garden, from the bedroom. So that's an idea I had just for that, because it's a nice big, like it's a big opening. And it'd be a pity if it was just, I mean, the great thing about French windows is they open inwards, so you've always got access to the outside. I don't know what that does for the safety side of things, but if I put a railing anyway, if I put like a Juliet railing anyway, it should stop anybody from accidentally toppling from that part of the building. So that will be closed up as well, and again that will stop anything from wanting to come in, any other insects and stuff wanting to work their way in. The curious thing today with I keep some soap in the kitchen, what's left of the kitchen, because obviously I need to wash my hands from time to time, and it had been in the same place for weeks now, and when I returned today it wasn't there. And obviously the doors are locked and everything else. And I'm just wondering whether the rat's been in and had it. I don't know if rats eat soap, or I've no idea, but it'd been left in the same place every day for donkeys for long, several weeks now. There wasn't much of a great deal of it left, but there was still some left. And like I said, when I returned today, it wasn't there. So luckily, I had a secondary bar in my rucksack, so I would be able to still keep washing my hands, which is nice. Yeah, so interesting. Don't know what happened to that. It's not something I would have thrown away, because like I said, it was in the same place all the time. So I could have done with having one of these cameras inside, so I can see what's going on when I'm not there. Maybe I'd have caught him in the act. He's still around though. I can hear him shuffling around in the undergrowth from time to time. And maybe he's got a way of getting into the house that I don't know about. Anyway, so I've been fetching tiles, and the tiles have been fetched from this part of the barn, and this is the barn. So now it's fairly well stripped, as you can see, this section of it. You've got three sections of barn. One section's in slate, which is, like I say, in a terrible condition, and the other two are in tile, but they're not actually the same levels. So one steps up slightly from the other. So this is the one that I've stripped back, and you can see the battens in a poor state anyway. The rafters aren't too bad here, considering it's been open for quite a while as well. It's had some rain damage, but this side of it, like I say, there's a massive ivy as ever growing throughout, and there was every tile had a chunk of, it looked like a hairy tile, had a chunk of moss on it. So that's the barn, which like I said will get done later on in the autumn once the house is finished. And I had the idea that possibly I would maybe do some workshops where people could come over if they're interested, and do a little bit of learn a little bit of various bits and trades and stuff, and do a little bit sort of practical experience of things like, putting membrane on, putting batten on, cutting batten, and things like that, doing a bit of tiling for anybody that's contemplating doing renovations themselves. So if that interests anybody, obviously let me know. And I'll be looking to get that organised kind of when the house is finished, from the end of August onwards, and that way then there would be accommodation as well available. So back to the roof, getting the last few tiles in. Very, very satisfying feeling, knowing after several weeks, because I honestly thought that this front roof would be much easier than the rear roof, and actually it's way, way more complicated. Um, in the fact that it was very, very much more steeper, and the first couple of days sort of threw me a little bit, working on there. And then afterwards, I've sort of rejigged the steps. So I then had I felt secure on the roof, but there was the roof was really, it dipped and it bowed all over the place. And obviously also there was the fact of needing to get the ridge tiles bedded in, which I could only do once this part had been started to be laid. So it actually ended up taking slightly longer than the rear roof did overall, the front roof. But it's the way the cookie crumbles from time to time, and you can't always anticipate things like the weather as well. We had a few days where the weather wasn't playing ball, so that sort of threw me a little bit. But anyway, now apparently we've got a heat wave coming through. It's going to be mid to late 30s by Sunday apparently. So I work from Tuesday morning right the way through to Saturday evening. So I should be able to get back to Paris for the very, very hot Sunday. And because now the roof's finished and I'm working internally, it should be a little bit more comfortable for me work-wise. I'd like to do a little bit, if I can as well, with the pine trees that are out there and the branches and stuff. I can start cutting them down and have a go at making some rudimentary trellis and fit that to the exterior garden walls, just to see what it's going to look like. And with that, that will use up some of the stuff as well, because it's another job that sort of would be pressing. Be nice to get the garden cleared a wee bit, particularly if I'm going to have deliveries and stuff coming in. The last time the delivery came, I'd actually cleared the front garden because we were searching for the water meter. So when he arrived with his 40 odd rafters and his 10 or 12 bundles of batten, it was a nice clear run for him to drop the stuff straight into the front garden. Well, at the moment, there's nowhere clear other than the sort of the front path. I've cleared that a wee bit just so that you can walk up and down there without tripping over. But other than that, it's just a mass of branches and stuff that I need to, in between doing the stuffs internally, have a little bit, maybe do an hour a day outside where I'm just, like I say, cutting down the trellis, getting it ready, getting the stuff that I need ready for the wood chipper, which I'm probably going to buy as well. So it's just things like that. Trying to get organised, kind of work as efficiently as possible. So you can see there, I think we've got sort of a one final cut of tile to go in. There it is, I'm carrying up there. And once that's in, we're done. The front roof is done. It's just a question of sorting out the guttering and just cutting the eaves a wee bit just to shape ready for the guttering. So that can be taken care of at the same time. So it's in. Finally. Thank goodness for that. It's been a heck of a job. Very, very pleased how it's turned out, and now knowing that we've got donkey's years ahead of us now, it's going to outlive me, which is the main thing. And it's given a lot of protection now back to the house, which it hadn't had, like I said, for 13 years. So the rain, the snow, everything else can do its worst. It's the internals are going to be nice and protected, which is nice. And then we've just got a final few seconds of the overall roof. So there you go. So what do you think? I'm very pleased with it. My Hansel and Gretel roof. Lots of different shaped tiles, lots of different sizes, lots of different colours. But I think it looks a treat. Really, I'm very, very pleased with it, and the ridge tiles as well. So Anyway, as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.